Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, December 29th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the last 30 days, we've seen very dry conditions continue over the southern half of the Great Basin, with any moisture focused north across Idaho, Wyoming, and into parts of northeast Nevada and northern Utah. But even this moisture we have seen over the last 30 days has been well below normal from what we would normally see this time of year. And even if we look back over the last 60 to 90 days, some of these areas over southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and southwest Utah have not seen any precipitation during that time period. So very dry conditions have persisted. Therefore, this is the time after very dry conditions where we'd see small fires pop up even in the off-season. Looking at the last snowfall over the last 72 hours, the image on the left shows any snowfall has been focused over the higher terrain of central Idaho into Wyoming. And this is also where we see our greatest snow depth across the Great Basin, as again, storms have been targeting the north this season. We also have some snow in the higher terrain across the northern Wasatch into the Uintas and also into the northern Sierra. The satellite image from this morning shows high pressure dominating over southern California into southern areas of the Great Basin, with a ridge of high pressure in the west. However, over the top of the ridge of high pressure, we are seeing moisture spill over for cloud cover this morning over much of the northern half of the Great Basin, and we are seeing some very light showers work its way south into central Idaho. We will see this system move around the top of this ridge and affect mainly Idaho, Wyoming, and far northern parts of Nevada and Utah as we move through the next couple of days, bringing additional precipitation. However, again, southern areas of the Great Basin will remain dry. Now looking at the weather pattern for later today, you can see again that moisture works its way south across central Idaho into parts of Wyoming, bringing additional snowfall, with dry and warmer conditions over the southern half of the Great Basin. Therefore, dispersion will remain quite poor in most areas. Looking at the transport winds for today, we may see some occasional breezy westerly winds across Idaho and Wyoming, but most of these wind gusts will remain well below 30 miles per hour. Mixing heights will remain very low across much of Nevada and Utah, and a little bit higher as you get closer to that system moving across that ridge over central Idaho into Wyoming, but even then mixing heights will remain in the moderate range. Looking at Saturday, we do have that moisture working its way south into far northern Nevada and northern Utah. Therefore, we will see some light showers as far south as those areas as well. However, amounts will remain on the lighter side of any additional snowfall or additional rainfall in the lower elevations. Ventilation index, again, quite poor dispersion across most of the region. Looking at the transport winds on Saturday, the only gusty winds are in parts of central Idaho and Wyoming and in parts of the higher terrain of Utah. But even then, these gusts will remain generally below 30 miles per hour, with much lighter winds over the western half of the Great Basin. The western half of the area is also where we will see our lowest mixing heights, with only moderate mixing heights over the eastern half of the area. Looking at Sunday, again, drier conditions are expected. We will see some cloud cover work its way into western areas, along with slightly higher mixing heights for the central Sierra as some of those winds start to pick up in the high elevations. Looking at the transport winds for Sunday, again, generally light winds. You can see in the far west, right along the Sierra crest, winds starting to pick up just a little bit, again allowing for that higher dispersion in some of the higher terrain of the Sierra. Otherwise, generally low mixing heights are expected across the rest of the Great Basin. Looking at the forecast clearing index for Utah, today you can see the clearing index is highest in the high elevations of the Wasatch up into the Uintas and very low over the rest of the state of Utah. Similar conditions on Saturday, however, again, you're seeing those winds start to increase, along with some moisture in the high elevations. Therefore, we will see higher clearing indices, again, mainly in the high elevations with lower conditions down low. Looking at Sunday, we start to lose some of the influence of that system. Therefore, the clearing indices will be going down region-wide. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation for the next 3 days, the only heavier amounts, again, localized into the central Idaho mountains and into the higher terrain of western Wyoming, with much lighter amounts as you move into northern Nevada and northern Utah. As we go into early next week, we still have a ridge of high pressure dominating the Great Basin for dry conditions on January 1st. However, an area of low pressure has developed off the west coast, which will bring a change in the pattern across the Great Basin, and we will see storms bringing some wetter weather across the area for the first part of January. However, on Monday, we will still see poor dispersion region-wide. Looking at Tuesday, that system starts to push a little bit further east. Therefore, we'll see a little bit better wind flow in the southern portions of the Great Basin for better dispersion. However, areas north will still see poor dispersion. We will start to see that moisture work in by Tuesday. Therefore, we'll start to see rain and higher elevation snow showers. The system is relatively warm, so we will see rain in the lower elevations of western and northern Nevada. And then as you get further north, you'll see some of that snowfall in the higher terrain. However, again, this will be much needed moisture from what we've seen recently, as these very dry conditions have occurred across much of the southern half of the area. By Wednesday, that moisture starts to work a little bit further east, therefore we'll see showers across most areas of Nevada and up into Idaho, along with continued poor dispersion, as this system really won't bring much relief to that, with the exception of the higher elevations of the western side of the basin as those winds increase. By Thursday, that moisture works its way north up into Idaho, Wyoming, and parts of northern Utah. Again, mainly poor dispersion with the exception of the high terrain of the Sierra. The precipitation accumulation only on this map goes through early Wednesday morning. We'll likely see this map change a little bit, as we will see light amounts of precipitation as we move through Tuesday and Wednesday, especially across Nevada and Idaho. Looking at the overall 8 to 14 day outlook, which takes us into the second week of January, warm conditions are expected across much of the Great Basin, but again, that moisture has changed to now bringing above normal precipitation to the southern half to two-thirds of the Great Basin, which is a big change from what we've seen recently. Therefore, a lot of those areas that have not seen rain or snow recently will start to see that change as we go through January. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Otherwise, check on Tuesday for the latest updates.